All right. I'd like to start out by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahusha, Ba'ashem Racha Kudash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Most Don't Know. And this title and the inspiration for this lesson comes from a video, or actually it was a documentary that came on regular cable, which I didn't know what year it was, till later. I found out today what year it was. And pretty much it was a program I was watching called Welcome to Macintosh, and it was done in 2008. And pretty much what they were doing is they were going through the processes from the beginning of the start of Apple and all, the whole computer system, and what it, pretty much what it entails to get those all that technology and build something that you can actually use that functions and works. And pretty much there was one particular guy, I forget his name, and I was gonna do this lesson at the house so that I was able to let you hear what the guy was saying, but I don't know if they're gonna hit me with a copyright, so I decided not to. But if you want to check it out, it's called Welcome to Macintosh. This is a 2008 documentary. It's about an hour and a half long. I watched it earlier again because I watched it last night. And there's a couple of things that stood out to me. And the very first one that stood out to me that got me to thinking in this process through the spirit of, the whole situation is when most people look at technology, right? When they look at computers, they look at phones, they look at iPads, they look at iPods, they look at different technology that's out there, and the way that it's packaged, and the way that it comes out of the package, and you're able to use it and interact with it, so on and so forth. They're not looking past the device that's in their hand or in their possession. They're not looking at the process and the behind the scene things that took place for that particular device to be made. The ups and downs, the failures, the things that, the hours of toil and sweat and labor and, and aggravation that it took, to get that particular product from its raw material process to the hands of the people. And when I heard the guy speaking about, you guys you really don't want to know what goes on behind the scenes and all this stuff, I started thinking about Yahusha and the behind the scenes stuff that he had to go through, and all of the the whole process of everything that he went through in order to get to the point where he is now sitting on the right hand of the Most High in his most glorified state ever. It took a serious process and a lot of heartaches and a lot of things that took place for him to get there. So when I was watching this, I probably watched about a good 20 minutes, half hour last night, and then Spirit allowed me to find it this morning, and I watched the whole thing again. So that was one of the things that stood out to me, the behind the scene functions of what takes place. Another thing that stood out in there was this one particular individual, a couple of them, spoke about passion. Spoke about, when you're doing these different programs, if you're passionate about it, you're gonna throw your whole self into it. You're gonna put your whole mind, soul, and body into doing what it is that your passion, what drives your passion. Because if you don't have passion for something, you're not gonna put as much effort into it as if you was really into it, And that stood out to me. And the guy Steve Jobs, they were saying that he was a very passionate individual, in what he did, so on and so forth, And the last thing that stood out was pretty much the technology of people being connected with the internet. Because one guy said, well, if they allow, I mean, I can't think exactly how he said it, but if the technology comes out where he can be connected to the technology neurally, which means through your mind, he said he would do it. And that, of course, that's the MOB, and that stood out to me. It was a very good documentary, and I'm not looking at the documentary for to big up the people that were involved in it, but I was listening to their thought process and the way that they subjected themselves to that, whatever it was, in order to get the job done. And this is what we see in Yahusha. He knew that he had to go through these things, and he subjected himself to it because he knew that there was a bigger picture and a bigger reward at the end of the whole ordeal that he had to go through. And the Apostle Paul said it best. The present suffering that we're going through is nothing compared to the reward that's coming later. Salakia. All right. Now, let's start off in the book of St. John, the 18th chapter. I got a couple of precepts to go through. In the 33rd verse, and we're going to read a couple of verses. St. John 18 and 33. It says, Then Pilate entered into the judgment hall again, and called Yahusha and said unto him, Art thou king of the Jews? Yahusha answered him, Sayest thou this thing of thyself, or did others tell it thee of me? Pilate answered, Am I a Jew? Thine own nation and the chief priests have delivered thee unto me. What hast thou done? Yahusha answered, My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence. Pilate therefore said unto him, Art thou a king then? Yahusha answered, Thou sayest that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Everyone that is of the truth heareth my voice. And pretty much, he understood the process that he had to go through, to get to that position, to be able to sit on the right-hand side of the Most High, until the Most High opened up, the kingdom for Yahusha to rule and reign on the earth. So he knew there was a process to go through, But when people today, like especially these plantation Christians, talk about the Lord, they call him Jesus, his name is Yahusha. They don't really think about all of the things that he suffered, in order for the Israelites to get salvation, and to get that pardon, that clemency. They don't think about all those processes that it took. And pretty much really, when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, most people don't want to know about what goes on behind the scenes, because not everybody is built to be able to withstand those things. Just like the dude in the documentary spoke about passion. You can't do something if you don't have the passion for it, because you're not going to throw your whole self into it. But when you have a passion for something, you're going to throw your whole energy into it. And it's going to come out that much better because of the zeal to be able to do it, So Yahusha said that he was a king, and that's why he was born, and that's why he came into the world, to bear witness of the truth. All right, now let's go from there to Luke, St. Luke, chapter 12. St. Luke chapter 12, verse 49 and 50. So it says, I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I, if it be already kindled? There's the point here, 50. But I have a baptism to be baptized with, and how I am straitened till it be accomplished. And the word straighten is not spelled like going straight ahead. It's spelled S-T-R-A-I-T-E-N-E-D, straight, S-T-R-A-I-T-E-N-E-D. S-T-R-A-I-T. Not straight ahead, but straight as a position of difficulty. And for the precept, it says pained. So he is straightened or pained until it be accomplished, because he knew that once it was accomplished, then the reward comes. But the reward doesn't come before that. In anything you do, no matter what it is, in order for you to get the reward, you have to go through the rigorous training of whatever it is, whether it's technology, whether it's studying lines for movies, whether it's sports, and you have to get in shape and refrain from certain things. There's always a particular discipline that it takes in order to get yourself to that superstar status, so to speak, in order to get that prize or that reward. Because those that have stepped, once they're involved in whatever they're doing, you can see it. Yeah, this guy really didn't train that well. This guy didn't really he didn't really do that much research, or whatever the case is. It shows. That's why you see certain individuals, they get in the ring, they fight 12 rounds, and at the end of the 12 rounds, they barely even breathing hard, because they discipline their body to go through that pain, to condition their body enough to where they can go through the 12 rounds and still have energy, so to speak. All right. So the Yahusha said he was straightened until it be accomplished. Now let's go from there to Matthew 26. And let's see, Matthew 26 and 36. And it says, Then cometh Yahushua with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and saith unto the disciples, Sit ye here while I go and pray yonder. Because he knew he had a mission to accomplish. He said, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work. But what's the word I'm looking for? The agony of waiting for it to come. The anticipation, was weighing heavy on him. And the closer he got to the hour to be grabbed up and crucified and everything that had to happen to him, this was an agonizing splinter in his mind that kept playing over and over again. And he didn't want to go on there, as we're going to read. He didn't want to go on that cross, but nevertheless he knew he had to, in order to accomplish the Father's mission, which is Yahweh. But the agony of knowing how you were going to die is terrible, but then the anticipation of waiting until you have to be brought there, and knowing that the time is drawing closer and closer and closer. You have 3 years, now you got 2 years, now you got 1 year, now you got 6 months, now you got a month, now you got 2 weeks, now you got a week, now you got 10 days, now you got 5 days, now you got 2 days, now you got 1 day. Now you got about 6 hours left. Now you got about 4 hours left. Now you got about 2 hours left. So that anticipation was weighing heavy on his mind until the final hour came, when Judas came and betrayed him. So this was a buildup. But most people don't think about everything that went on behind the scenes before Yahushua was crucified. And this is what really stuck out to me in that documentary, when the guy said that you don't want to know what goes on behind the scenes, because all people care about is the nice shiny phone that they got, or the nice shiny iPad, or the nice shiny whatever technology it is that they have. They're not concerned with what it took to get all that stuff together, the toil and the labor, and the sweat and the tears and the aggravation and the agitations and the arguments, and the breaking down into tears sometimes, because you're just so frustrated, because you know that this thing is going to work, but it just ain't working at the moment, until you get that bright light that goes off in your head to figure out the problem. So that's a whole process. It's the same thing with the truth. There's a whole process of things that go on behind the scenes that most people don't know about. All they see is brothers out there, teaching the word. Oh, I could do that. See, that's what the scriptures speak about, counting the cost. Oh, I could do that. But they don't see the traumatizing things that happen, the loss of things that you have to lose in this society, in this world, that most people will not be willing to let go of. You know, the agonizing torture, you know, of people in the world coming against you. You know it's not them, it's them demons, but then you know your carnal side sometimes, you know, gets the best of you, but then you have to fight, you know. So there's a whole lot of things that go on behind the scenes, a lot of processes. Well, this is the same thing with Yahusha. There was a whole buildup before he actually went on that cross that most people don't realize. Right? So he says, and he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. And you got to remember, this is at the end of the night, after they ate, after they drank, they were sipping yayan. You know, after a while you get tired and sleepy. So the disciples were pretty much done. They were ready to go to sleep. But Yahusha couldn't go to sleep because he had this splinter in his mind of having to be put on that cross. So he's grieving. That's why there's other scripture that says that he was sweating sweat and drops of blood because he was so traumatized mentally. You see? But he forged right through it. He said, then saith he unto them, my soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here and watch with me. He shared that with them. The scriptures tell us about these things to comfort us. But when they came to get him, he didn't, you know, flake out. He just did what he had to do. He didn't show no weakness among them. You know? Because it was his mission to do what he had to do. And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. And he cometh unto the disciples and findeth them asleep, and saith unto Peter, what, could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. And that is the truth. It says he went away again the second time and prayed, saying, O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. You got to remember, they were tired. They were sipping yayan. They ate lamb, you know, and it was late. See? It says, and he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy, and he left them and went away again and prayed the third time, saying the same words. Then cometh he to the disciples and saith unto them, sleep on now and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that doth betray me. So at that moment, when he saw that his prayers weren't being answered by the Father, he already knew what time it was. You know, so he just got in the frame of mind to deal with whatever it was that he had to deal with. See? But most people don't think about this process that goes on behind the scenes to get to the ultimate product, the finished product, which is what? The salvation for the nation of Israel. See, most don't consider that. Now let's go from there. Well, I'm not going to read it. You can read it on your own. You go to Matthew, the 4th chapter, and Luke, the 4th chapter, where it deals with, you know, Yahusha prior to this, you know, being tempted of Satan. And he wasn't just tempted that particular day at the 40th day when he was hungry. They said that throughout the whole 40 days, Satan was messing with him. It doesn't go into specifics of what it was, but we know at the end, he came to him 3 times at his weakest point and was tempting him and using scriptures to tempt him with. And he got through it. So these are processes that took place, you know, to get to the finished product, the ultimate goal, that perfect man. And we have that example for us today. Now let's go from there to Isaiah, the 52nd chapter. And I'm going to try to see if I can look up some of these words in these 2 chapters. There's Isaiah 52 and 13. Behold, my servant shall deal prudently, dealing with Yahusha, He shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. But there had to be a process that went before he could get to that status, to that position. You know, things don't happen overnight. You see, whenever you see someone successful or whatever the case may be, I mean, in this society it's hard to use the word successful because you know that people gotta sell out. But in a perfect world, you know, people that are successful by right means, you know, it takes a long process to get there. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of thinking, a lot of discipline, you know, a lot of refraining from different things. And eventually, once you get to the point where you need to be on the success bar, so to speak, now you could, you know, sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. All right? But this is what it says. It says, as many were astonished at thee, his visage, which is his face, was so marred, more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. So what is it speaking about? This is speaking about the appearance of Yahusha when he was on the cross and prior to him getting on the cross. Remember, he was getting slapped, he was getting beat, he was getting punched, he was getting thorns, crown of thorns stuck in his head, you know. And you see what happens when somebody, you know, when you see just a boxing match and somebody gets hit a certain way and their eye swells up, you know, like Mike Tyson, you know, when he bit Holyfield's ear, you know. He said, man, I look like a monster, man. I gotta go to my kids, man. I gotta go see my kids, man. I look like a monster, you know. So his eye was fucked up, you know. I mean, it ain't funny, but you know, the way Mike sounded was funny. But the thing about it is, you got to think of it that way. You know, the beatings that Yahusha went through, the way that his face was mutilated. You know, it's swollen up because what happens is blood starts going to these different places because the body's trying to heal. And you got a bunch of blood and whatever's rushing to that area to help fix the area because it's damaged, it's injured. You see? But most people don't take that into consideration. So I want to go to Isaiah 52. I want to look up that word. I believe the word is marred. Let's see, is there anything else? Marred. Yeah, that's good right there. Let's just go there. It was so marred. The word there is mashakath. Yeah, mashakath. It says disfigurement of face, corruption. So his face was disfigured. You know, you see Emmett Till's face. You see, you know, those of you that are familiar with the Elephant Man, how his face is all disfigured. Emmett Till is a very good example. So the scripture said that his face was more marred. So just imagine, you know, Emmett Till times 10 or times 20 or times 100. And that's, you know, what Yahusha went through in order to get us the victory, in order to get us that W. You see? But nobody thinks about that. You know, most people don't think about that. They don't care about that. They despise that. So it says, so shall he sprinkle many nations, because you have Israelites scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. The kings shall shut their mouth at him. Yeah, because they're going to bow down. It says, for that which have not been told them shall they see, and that which they have not heard shall they consider. Yeah, that's why Yahusha was coming before Pontius Pilate, talking to him and telling him what he was telling them. You know, and then the disciples gave testimonies against kings and against the Gentiles and all of that, based off of the things that Yahusha went through and the reason why. All right. Now let's go from there to the next chapter, and we're going to read. We're going to try to read the whole chapter because it's a short chapter and it's so powerful. Isaiah 53:1. Who hath believed our report? What is our report? That Yahusha died for the nation of Israel. So who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? Who is the arm of the Lord? Who is the arm of Yahweh? Yahusha, because he sits on his right hand side. So who is that revealed? Because it's not revealed to everybody. Everybody cannot accept Yahusha. The criteria is not just being an Israelite, because you have a lot of Israelites out there that rejected Yahusha. So it's not just being an Israelite. You have to be an Israelite, but you also have to be of the chosen. You have to be of the elect. And that's why we hope we're the elect. You see? There's a whole process to it. There's a lot of things, a lot of components to this truth. It ain't just putting on a garment, calling us so-called white men the devil. Oh, you're going to pay for what you did, and cursing these women out. And, I just want to say, you sisters out there that are doing the right thing, they're doing the best you can, when stuff like that comes out, you shouldn't feel bad. Because if you're doing the best that you can, the Lord knows. The Lord knows your heart. We're talking about these other skanks that's out of order. That's what we're talking about. It says, for he shall grow up before him as a tender plant. So let's look that up. So Yahushua grew up among the Lord, as a tender plant. Because he is the greatest. Like the scripture spoke about that noble vine. Yahushua is the most noblest vine. So let's look that up real quick. Tender plant. Tender plant. The word there is Yawanach. No, Yawanach. Yawanach. Sucker, suckling, sapling, young plant. Yeah. So he was going to be a tender plant. He was going to be suckled. He was going to be nursed properly. Because the Heavenly Father himself was supping with Yahushua and giving him everything that he needed to grow. That's why when he was 12 years old, he was confounding doctors and lawyers in the law. A 12-year-old boy, which at that point you become a man. But in this society, you're considered a boy. And he was confounding these 40, 50, 60-year-old, 70-year-old men, 30, at whatever age they were. He was confounding them with the truth that they were considered to be experts in at the age of 12. So the Lord makes sure that he was well-rounded on everything. He had everything that was needed. The scriptures say that the Spirit wasn't given to Yahushua by measure. He had the whole Spirit. And that's why we all are a representation of a piece of that Spirit as a body. Yahushua being the head, supplying to every part of a member of the body what they need in order to keep the whole body functioning. And one man can't run the show. That's why you have different men in different camps that help out. You have your first in command, your second in command, your third in command, fourth in command. Because it can't just fall on one man. Because that man needs help. We're not perfect yet, but we're striving for perfection. You see? So it goes on to say, and as a root out of a dry ground. Let's see what it says for root. I just want to look a couple of these words up. Let's see what it says for root. The word root. A root. It's the word sharash. Root of people involving firmness or permanence. Right, because a root is firm. So Yahushua not only was a tender plant, but his roots were firm. It says out of the dry ground. Okay. It says he had no form, no comeliness. Now let's look up the word form. We just read about that where? In the book of Isaiah 52. The word form is the word tha'ar, shape, form, outline, figure, appearance. Yeah, because what happened was he was beaten so badly that you couldn't even make out who he was. He was beaten beyond recognition. There's people say that. And then you got the word comeliness. There's no comeliness. The word there is hadar, ornament, splendor, honor, ornament, splendor, majesty. Yeah, because before honor is humility. So in order for him to be humiliated, he had to go through all of that in order to receive that kingly status, that reward. So there was a heavy process that went to making Yahushua to be in that glorified, magnified state that he's in now. You see? Man. It says, he hath no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. Yeah, because he was all marred. And it was the worst marring of anything ever that ever happened to any man. There's not a man on the planet Earth, no matter how bad they got beaten, how disfigured they look, that look worse than Yahusha. And that's why in the kingdom of heaven, we're going to see him one more time in that body. You know, so that he can, so to show us, you know, the great sacrifice that he made. And we're going to be bawling. We're going to be crying our hearts out. But that's the last time we're going to cry. Because the scripture said that the Lord shall wipe away all tears. You see? Because that's a great thing that he did. That's a great thing that Yahushua did. For us. See? It says, he is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. Now, I had looked up this word acquainted with grief years ago, but let me look up the word sorrows first. Word sorrows is the word maka'abah. They got different variations of how you spell it. It says pain, sorrow, pain physical, pain mental. And he went through both, physical and mental pain. So then we look up the word grief. And the word grief is the word chalaya, which means sickness. So Yahushua was acquainted with sickness. You see? Now, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that movie Green Mile, when they had that big Duncan Clark, whatever the hell his name was, he's in the grave now, he's in the spirit world. When they had him in there, you know, he was sort of like a representation of the Messiah, but he was helping the wrong people. He was helping Esau. But when he would heal people, the sickness would come upon him. You know, but Yahushua, you know, he had infirmities that really the scriptures don't really describe, but it said that he was a man acquainted with grief, and that grief breaks down to sickness. You know, and the ultimate sickness was he took on all of our infirmities upon himself. You know, the transgressions, you know, and everything that hindered us. That's why at the last moment when he was on the cross, he felt the presence of the Most High leaving him, because the Lord said that he's of purer eyes than to behold iniquity. Because at that time, all of our iniquities came upon Yahushua on that sacrifice. Everything from the beginning all the way up until till now. That was, man. And the Most High had to turn his face. That's why I said, my power, why hast thou forsaken me? It says, and we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Yeah, because he didn't really get the recognition that he should have gotten, you know, as the Son of the Most High. If anything, he got more rejection, you know. And a lot of those leaders, they knew that he was the Messiah, you know, but they had a spirit on them to reject him, because that was their lot. They had to fulfill their lot. It says, surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, and we did esteem him stricken, smitten of the Most High, and afflicted. Now, I'm curious to see what that particular word grief is there, if it's the same word or if it's a different word. Yep, same one. He has borne our sicknesses. The whole head is sick. So it goes into the infirmities, physical infirmities. It also goes into, you know, the wickedness that we did. So it says, verse 5 now. But he was wounded. Let me see, there's a precept there for wounded. Wow. He was wounded or tormented. Wow. But he was wounded or tormented for our transgressions. Yeah, because that's a torment. Torture is torment, man. Going through that pain, and the not just the pain. I mean, the pain is devastating. But imagine the what's the word I'm looking for? The for lack of words, the embarrassment is not really, that's not the word I'm looking for, but just the things that he had to suffer. You know, the shame that he had to suffer and he had to go through. He didn't want to have to go through that. Matter of fact, let's go real quick to Hebrews 12. I was saving this for after, but let's go there real quick and then we'll jump back. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. And it says, wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin. Okay, that's a woodpecker. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Because this is a race, you know, and you have to pace yourself in this race. But there is an example of how to run the race, which is Yahusha. It says, looking unto Yahusha, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him, see, and what was that? The kingdom of heaven, bringing his brothers back into the good graces of the Most High Yahweh. Right? That was the joy that was set before him. Endured the cross. See, so he endured the cross for that purpose, for that reason, despising the shame. Nobody wants to be humiliated like that, man. That's not cool to be humiliated. It's not cool to have to go through that stuff. But this was the mission that he was sent on. He said, and it says, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of the Most High. So he despised the shame. He saw the joy that was set before him. He said, to get that, I got to go through this. You know, I really don't want to go through that, but that reward is great. It said, for consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. That's why it says, arm yourselves with the same mind as Yahushua, because he girded up his loins to do what he had to do, because he knew that he was on a mission, and that there was a reward at the end of that mission. All right, so we have to equip our minds that same way. That look, there is a reward coming for doing this. You know, this ain't just something we just do because we got nothing better to do. No, it's a mission. You know, it's a inspiration from on high that keeps us moving, keeps us going. You know, keeps us motivated. You know, and that's the only reason we could do it, because of that inspiration, that drive, that zeal, that passion that comes from above. To get us to where we need to be, to understand in our mind the reason why we go through such losses and go through such pains and go through such things that we go through. That's the only way we can make it. A man can receive nothing except it be given to him from heaven. So it goes on to say, where we at? All right, back in Isaiah 53 and 5. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. And that's the only reason why the Lord made peace with us, why the Most High made peace with us, because of his Son, Yahusha, and that sacrifice. And with his stripes we are healed, which those stripes go back to who? Go back to King Solomon, which the Lord said, if you don't obey my voice, he's going to be beaten with the stripes of men. And King Solomon was never beaten with the stripes of men. He died of old age. So when did he suffer the stripes of men? When he came as Yahushua. For those of you that can receive it. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. So our iniquities were laid upon Yahushua, because he is that Prince of Peace. He is the one that broke down that middle wall of partition. He is the one that got us in the good graces of the Most High once again. Hence, the ministry or the gospel of reconciliation. Reconcile means to be brought back into the good graces of somebody. If you were never a part of that those good graces, there's no way you can be brought back to those good graces. And the only people that have been in those good graces is the nation of Israel, because of Abraham and the oath and the promise that the Most High made with him. So it goes on to say, he was oppressed and was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before the shearers is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. That's why when Pilate started talking to him, he didn't talk to Pilate, because that was what had to transpire in order for Yahusha to fulfill these prophecies. All right. Matter of fact, let me look up that word oppressed. I'm just take a quick look at that. The word oppressed. What verse is that? 7. He was oppressed. Nagash, to press, drive, oppress, exact, exert, demanding pressure, which makes me think of what Elder Apostle Gabar went into years ago with the word Gethsemane, which means oil press. He was the oil that was pressed. So he was oppressed because the reason why he had to go through that was for us. So it says to press, to drive, oppress, exact, exert, demanding pressure. So that was a demanding pressure that was put upon him. And the other word is afflicted. The word there, aina, which we already know what that means. To be afflicted, humbled. All right, so now let's go back. Now let's read verse 8. He was taken from prison and from judgment, because he went to prison. Because that's what he had to do. It's in the scriptures. That's why it says when he came back in Revelation, it said the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried. Why? Because of the testimony that we hold. And who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. Yeah, because he was sacrificed by the Most High for us. For the transgressions of my people was he stricken. Who's the Lord's people? The Israelites. The Israelites. You got that vocab? That bullshit supersessionism or replacement theology crap that you guys teach? That's a bunch of hogwash. Bunch of hog shit. And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because the rich goes into Joseph of Arimathea, and then you have the two that were crucified on both sides of him, which were thieves, or criminals, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased, because remember, when you do a sacrifice, right? What does the Lord require? A male lamb of the first year without blemish and without spot. And Yahusha is that lamb, or was that lamb, is the lamb that was without blemish and without spot. And he did not sin. He was the only man on the earth perfect enough not to go off. Okay. Yet it pleased the Lord Yahweh to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. Matter of fact, let me just look up those two. Bruise and grief. Bruise and grief. And I got one more precept after that, and then we can close it out. Bruise and grief. And that's what? Verse 10. Bruise is the ka. To crush, be crushed, be contrite, be broken. Yeah, a broken spirit will thou not, a broken and a contrite spirit will thou not despise. And that's what the Lord requires, a broken spirit. And nothing breaks you down more than that humiliation, man. Paying for our iniquities. That sorrow of mind, that chastening of the Lord. And the other one is grief, which is chala, to be or become weak. See, be or become sick, be or become diseased, which goes back to the word we were just reading about. That he was acquainted with grief, disease. It says, yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He had put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, see? Because that was the ultimate sacrifice. He shall see his seed, which are the Israelites. He shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Because he said that I do daily, the delights of my Father, something along those lines. It says, he shall see of the travail of his soul, meaning the things that Yahusha went through. That serious, traumatizing, agonizing pain that Yahusha went through in that flesh. And shall be satisfied, because the Most High, okay, now the sins of Israel are paid for. Just like the high priest had to go into the Holy of Holies every year. You see? But this was the ultimate, because once Yahusha did it, that's it. He ain't coming back to do it no more. So those of you that despise that take that lightly, Yahusha is coming as a roaring lion to kick you in the ass too, man. So he shall see of the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied by his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many. All right. It says, for he shall bear their iniquities, and that's what he did. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, which we spoke about that earlier, and he bare the sins of many, or the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. And that's why he's the mediator, the intercessor, the go-between between the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and us, Yasha. He's the ultimate intercessor, the ultimate lawyer. So this is Hebrews chapter 5, and let's see, 5 and 5. So also Yahushua glorified not himself to be made an high priest, but he that said unto him, Thou art my son, today have I begotten thee. As he saith also in another place, Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek, who in the days of his flesh, meaning in the days of the flesh of Yahushua, when he was here 2,000 years ago, when he had offered up prayers and supplications with strong crying. Remember, he said his soul was exceeding sorrowful. He said, and tears unto him that was able to save him from death. And he did it 3 times, prayed to the Most High 3 times to take that cup from him. But there was no answer, because the only solution was that cross. And was heard in that he feared. See? So he despised the shame. He feared. He didn't want to go through that, but he did. So those are the behind the scene things that most people do not consider. And that's why I said this documentary, Welcome to Macintosh, when I was watching it, that's the thought that came to mind is, everybody sees the shiny stuff, the finished product, but nobody sees the aggravation and the agitation and all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes in order to get that shininess. You see? The scriptures say before honor is humility. And matter of fact, I wasn't going to go to this precept, but hey, the Spirit is on me. Let's get it. Let's go to the book of Malachi 3. Malachi 3. And we'll finish it out there. Because the same way that Yahusha had to go through that, remember what he told his disciples? He said, you're going to drink my cup. You're going to surely drink of my cup. And you're going to gulp it. You're going to gulp it down. Gulping it every day, inside joke. This is Malachi 3 and 16. Then they that feared the Lord spake often one to another, and the Lord heard them. And the Lord hearkened and heard it, and a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the Lord and that thought upon his name. Those names are very important. And they shall be mine, saith the Lord of hosts, in the day when I make up my jewels. And there's a precept there for jewels. See, that's 17. And that's, what is that? Okay, they got it over here. Oh no, that's 18 verse. This is 17 verse. That the word there is special treasure. All right. Let's read that again. And they shall be mine, saith the Lord of hosts, in the day when I make up my jewels, or my special treasure, and I will spare them as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. Right. And the thing about it is, the analogy I like to make is, when you go to these different jewelry stores, right, or wherever it is you buy, you know, jewelry at, and you see the jewelry in the case, in the display case, the jewelry is already polished. It's looking pretty, and that's why it's attractive to people to buy it. But how many people do you think that go to these different places to buy jewelry ever think of the process that it takes to get that jewelry from the raw material stage that it's at until the finished product of that polished piece of jewelry that they're about to spend their hard-earned money for? Not many think about it. So we're going through a process, like Yahusha was going through a process of going through the so-called quote-unquote diamond in the rough state, you know, and the finding, the careful cutting around to get it out, the washing it, the cleaning it, you know, the chipping away at all the bad substances, you know, the fire you have to put to it, and the amount of work that you have to put into it to get that thing polished enough to where it could be set in any type of jewelry. You know, most people don't think about those processes that it takes to get there. You see, you know, you got the guy painstakingly cleaning stuff and using, you know, different tools that are for making jewelry. Then he's sticking himself in his finger, bleeding. You know, it's a painstaking process to take raw material and create this beautiful jewelry, whether it's a necklace, a ring, or whatever. You know, so that's what we're going through right now. We're going through that rigorous process, and most people do not see what it takes behind the scenes to get to that polished place. They just want the polished without having to go through the work that it takes to get there. It doesn't work like that. Before honor comes humility, you know. So pretty much with that, you know, if you brothers get a chance, just watch that documentary. It's called Welcome to Macintosh. It came out in 2008. You know, you don't have to watch it. If you feel like watching it, you can watch it. I mean, I thought it was a very good documentary. It got a lot of good points in it. I looked at it in a spiritual sense, and also prophetically, you know, that's technology. The scripture said that knowledge shall increase. So that is also a part of prophecy, that technology that they have, you know, and the ups and downs that it takes, and the, you know, the many hours of racking your brain and the agitation and the arguments that you have to have with people, and this process is going to work, but everybody's against you. Now it ain't going to work. And then 5 years or 10 years later, they start doing that, and you say, well, that's what I was telling you 5 years ago or 10 years ago. You should have done this. You know, because some people have that vision to see what's going to work, you know, in the future. You know, and that's the same thing with us. We see the vision of how it's going to be in the kingdom, but we understand the process that it has to take. That's what the scripture said, that they're the ultimate comforter. You know, and we read about the things that our forefathers went through, and we don't see them. Matter of fact, even the scriptures say in Hebrews about Yahusha, he went through what he went through. He's glorified in the heavens. People down here ain't really glorify Yahusha, because when they glorify Jesus, they're glorifying a so-called white man, an Edomite. So when we read here in Hebrews 2:8, it says, thou hast put all things in subjection under his feet, for in that he put all in subjection under him, he left nothing that is not put under him. But now we see not yet all things put under him, because he hasn't been fully magnified on the earth. And that's what this whole thing is about, the teaching and the doctrine about glorifying Yahusha, and then Yahusha coming to make his grand appearance. You see, like before the king comes out, they blow the trumpet. There's a coronation going on. You got the red carpet, you know, laid out, you know, and then there's a whole bunch of blowing of horns and a great orator saying, such and such, and, prepare to meet the king, and then all this great grandeur and splendor, And then eventually, after all of that is said, then you see the king coming out, all decked out, polished to a T. Nothing out of place, no wrinkles. Jewelry is polished. If you look at it too hard, it might blind you. And then he comes in, and what he does with his scepter, and he sits down on his throne. Boom. And everybody's in awe, looking at him in that great splendor that he's in. You see? So that's what we're going through right now. Yep. Like the brother said, we're in the heralding stage. That's right. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.